Hello. Oh, yay, forward-looking statement. Of course. So first of all, make sure you're in the right place. Essential habits for new Salesforce administrators. Welcome. Good morning. The classic forward-looking statement slide. I won't say anything on this slide because you have already heard it in literally every single other presentation. My name is Mark Baseman, and I am an admin evangelist here with Salesforce.
And I am Rebecca Saar, and I am an admin marketer here at Salesforce, and we work together.
And we sure do. So, what's a Salesforce administrator in one word? So we solicited from our community different words that we thought represented a Salesforce administrator. But I'd love to get some interaction here in the room. So if I could hear somebody just shout out, what is one word for Salesforce administrator? Anything, doesn't matter. Awesome.
Awesome.
What's that from the back? Superhero, great, superhero, awesome.
I agree.
Facilitator, love it. Super? Doer. Guru. Thank you, sorry, too close to the speakers. Translator, love it.
I like that.
I like that one very much. Cool. Thank you, I appreciate your enthusiastic participation this morning. So, let's talk about what makes Salesforce admins awesome. Have people discovered their superpowers in the admin meadow? Show of hands. Yeah, all right, that's actually pretty good. Thank you. Big hand for yourselves.
Yay.
Yay. So the superhero powers here that we're talking about are championing productivity, delivering innovation, and connecting experiences. If you saw the Salesforce Admins keynote, you saw 3 great examples of Salesforce admins who do this: Carlos Humana, Nana Gregg, and Catherine Clark. So you should think about in your worlds, in your universes, which one of these fits you best. And of course, you can go to the admin meadow and find that. But today, we're going to be talking about specifically habits for new Salesforce administrators. And we're focusing on these 3 areas: learning, connecting, and leading. Just to make you do some more work this morning, in case you haven't already exhausted, I'm curious, who in the room has been a Salesforce administrator for under 6 months? Okay, so that's a good
You're at the right session.
Yeah. How about 6 months to a year? All right, 1 to 3 years. Okay, a couple of folks. So this session is geared towards newer folks, so I just want to make sure, set expectations. This is going to be, pretty basic stuff. And then over 3 years, any old hands out there? Okay, couple of folks, cool. So our first set of habits are all about learning, and I'm going to turn it over to Rebecca, and I promise we will have demos as well, so we will get into the actual application. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rebecca.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, so just to emphasize, you are all developing these amazing superpowers, and the best way to get them is to develop habits that make it easy for you to be these amazing superheroes at your company. I'm going to start with the first set of habits, which is all around learning. And so first, let's talk about why it's so important that you develop these habits. Admins really commit to lifelong learning. As you know, in the tech world especially, things are changing every day. At Salesforce, you have 3 releases a year. There's constant need to know what's coming up, what are the new features, in order to stay relevant and be able to be that expert at your company. Also, when you're a lifelong learner, it means that you have a beginner's mind. You're always looking at things kind of from a fresh perspective, and seeing how maybe you can apply new learnings to old problems. And this starts to help you kind of enhance your skill set and continue to grow, which will ultimately lead to new opportunities. So I hope I've sold the need to develop learning habits. Okay, so of course we'll start with Trailhead. The best way to learn is with Trailhead. It's the fun way to learn. Hopefully you've been downstairs and seen all the activations around Trailhead.
Who has a badge?
Do we have badges? Yes.
Badges? Okay. If there is someone out here who did not raise their hand, that's okay. Don't be scared. Trailhead is right there, ready for you. So I just want to make sure, go ahead, earn your badge this Dreamforce. And for the rest of you, keep going.
That's why we have a slide on it, to tell you all about Trailhead. And so on Trailhead, you can find modules and trails for beginner, intermediate, advanced, for admins, even for devs, for end users. Really, it's whatever you need to learn at the moment, you can find on Trailhead. And if you are someone that likes in-person classes, of course, we also have that with expert instructors. And the cool thing about Trailhead is that you earn skill-based credentials, badges, and also certifications. And then lastly, with Trailhead, you're really connecting with trailblazers. There's over 1 million learners out there that are just like you, somewhere along the spectrum of learning how to become Salesforce administrators or Salesforce developers. So definitely the best place to start. But let's also talk about learning by getting hands-on. So while Trailhead is a great place to get started and also to expand your skill set, the best advice I got when I first started learning was to just get a DE org and start building something for fun, something personal, where I can kind of test out different scenarios. When I was building it, that's how I learned kind of the relationships between fields and objects and how to do better data modeling, because it was something personal and fun for me to build. And so we actually ran a campaign earlier this year where we asked awesome admins to do the same thing, get hands-on, think outside the box, build something personal for yourself, build an app. And I wanted to just share some of the examples we got so you can be inspired and go home after Dreamforce and build an app. So you can see here we have a comic tracker, a swag tracker, which at Salesforce can be important because you get a lot of swag and maybe you want to trade it, and a happy hour tracker. So lots of fun ways to kind of learn and make it personal and get hands-on. And if you do end up building an app and want to share it with us, use #BeABuilder. We'd love to see what you build. Okay. Next, let's talk about releases. So another really important reason to develop this learning habit is because we have 3 releases a year, and 3 times a year you're learning about new features that are coming out. And so you want to be up to date with the latest and greatest. And there's really 4 easy steps to do that. First, take a look at the release notes. I know they're long, but they're the best place to start to understand what's coming out. 2, there's the Release Readiness Live, which is often hosted by the evangelists and product managers that are releasing the different features. And so that's really fun. There's specifically an admin release preview where the EVs, go through the release notes and kind of give you the greatest and best features and favorite features for admins. And then definitely get a pre-release org so you can start looking at all the things in the org, the new changes before it comes to your own production org. And refresh your sandboxes. So you can find a lot of these great resources at salesforce.com/releases. Lastly, let's also talk about apps and the App Exchange. So learning is best when motivated by curiosity, and this is a great place to explore. So go to the App Exchange and make it kind of every other week. You block out some time to go see what's new, because not only does that mean you have kind of solutions at your fingertips when users or departments come to you with a problem, but it also means you can start thinking of maybe new ways you can automate something or bring a new department in because there's a cool app that they could use. So it's really great to just be familiar with the App Exchange and the types of solutions that are out there. And we also recommend that you subscribe to their newsletter. So that'll make it super easy because once a week they'll kind of send you the latest and greatest that is new on the App Exchange. So I know that was a lot of different ways to develop your learning habits. So we've tried to make it a little easier by creating these action steps to get you started. And you can do this the second you get home. And also, if you found a little cheat sheet on your seat, it's a condensed version of what we're sharing here. So block a fixed learning time every week and make that your time to go on Trailhead, earn some badges, Maybe even make a trail mix that is your personal goal for the year or goal for the month, and every week you spend some time kind of completing badges. Subscribe to the Salesforce Admins podcast, another great way to just stay on top of what is out and coming up, and also what other admins are learning and doing. And then lastly, just go out and install an app from the App Exchange and play around with it. Do it in a DE org or a sandbox. Just really get hands-on with that. And now we're going to do a little demo. I'll pass it back to Mark.
Cool. Thanks, Rebecca. So let's see if I can toggle between these two things. Probably not. Let's do that. OK. People in the back, can you see this, or is it too small? How's that? Good? Everybody still awake? Just checking on that. Cool. All right. So here we are in our org. I am, man, this is crazy. Let's get out of that. Interesting. I can't move my mouse below this line, so we're going to do this with tabs. This will be fun. Okay. Exciting. So here I am in my org.
Pro right here.
Yeah, just no big deal. NBD. That's funny. That happened earlier, too. Who knows why? Let's try that. Nope. No joy. All right. Well, figure it out. OK. So here we are in our org. Nope. No luck. OK, fun. Here we are in our org. And let's talk about, first of all, the Salesforce release website, the App Exchange. So Salesforce Adoption Dashboards is a real great kind of first app to start with. Has anybody installed this particular app? Okay, awesome. A couple of you. So for those of you that haven't installed this, for you as a system administrator, this is actually one of the best kind of first apps to install for a bunch of reasons. One is if you want to know how your company is kind of taking up Salesforce or not, depending on which department you're working with, the Salesforce Adoption Dashboards are a really great resource for you to do that. So this is kind of one of your first basic apps to install. It is just super valuable to kind of surface the underlying information for who's logging in or who's not logging in. You can do things like set up a Hall of Fame or Wall of Shame, depending on your motivation strategy for your users. And it's free, right? So you can just get it now. So the process to install something in the App Exchange, all right, bear with me. Let's see if I can get there, is you go to the Get It Now button. Okay, I'm working on it. This is amazing. All righty. Let's see. You know, you roll with it. That's cool. Oh boy. Okay, so you go find the Adoption Dashboards tab. You get the idea. Let me jump back here. And then what'll happen is it'll show up. Oh, come on. Hold on. Let's see. Can I get it to the setup bar? All right. In the app launcher, you will see it in here. And it will say something like in your, let's see if I can get into my dashboards. All right. Good. Nope. Man, this is going to be great. I'm sorry, all. Okay. Dashboards. Good. Yes. No. We may go back to the slides because this is not super cool. Anyway, it will be in your dashboards. Oh boy, okay. Yes, user adoption logins. Holy moly, are we actually seeing a dashboard?
This is now a how-to about not using your mouse.
Yeah, seriously, this is totally, yeah, you can do stuff. So this is what this dashboard looks like. Obviously, it does not have a lot of data because we have one user, our astronomical user, our new admin. But if you take a look at this dashboard, you can see along the left, we've got that wall of fame. On the right, we have the wall of shame, right? So again, motivation strategy. Here you've got the total number of active Salesforce users. You've got your all user logins by role, by region. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do to customize this dashboard. Customizing reports and dashboards is way beyond the scope of today, and if you're just getting started, obviously Trailhead is the place to go for that. And also in the admin meadow, there are places for you to talk to folks if you want to get more tips and tricks on reports and dashboards. Anyway, I just wanted to show you this as kind of a great first place to check out. The other thing that I want to show you is the release website. So Rebecca mentioned kind of the release readiness and the release prep steps that you do. So the release website is always just going to be at salesforce.com/releases. Anyone guess what the next release is? Winter, oh my God, I mean, it's what, louder? Winter 19, great, Winter 19. So one of the things that is very confusing about our release naming strategy is Winter 19, but we're still in 2018, so we are somehow in the future. So just know that all the winter releases are a year ahead for some reason. And you'll notice, by the way, that our mascot is a mascot that is based in the seasons north of the equator. So for those of you that have perhaps joined us from countries like Australia, New Zealand, and so on, you'll notice that this is not super totally globally friendly, but anyway, you get the idea. So we're in the Winter 19 release, or we're about to be in the Winter 19 release. Dreamforce is always a fun time of year because usually the release and the Dreamforce conference sort of coincide. So imagine the fun that we as Salesforce employees have trying to make sure, like, okay, which org are we on? Are we on the summer or the winter org? So the 3 releases, by the way, every year, they are what? Starting with, anyone? So like, we got winter, spring, and summer. So there is no fall in the Salesforce universe. No autumn, no idea why, just that's what it is. So anyway, in case we've lost fall for some reason. So anyway, I want to point you to the information on this site. The good stuff that's here is information about upcoming features, and you can see it's broken out by clouds here. So you can take a look and focus on particular clouds if you're doing sales, service, marketing. And as Rebecca mentioned, the evangelists, will usually do a live post, which has, or a live video, where we'll talk with product managers and we'll try to highlight the features that are most important to you as Salesforce administrators. So if any of you saw the admin keynote, we tried to kind of do a version of that and highlight some things there as well. So anyway, let me turn it back to slides, and let's see if I can get the slides back up. This should be fun. All right, hold on. All right.
Voila.
Oh, and it's me for slides because I'm doing the next section. That's fun. Okay.
There.
So let's talk about connecting. So just some reasons to connect with other folks. The first thing you want to do is get out of your bubble. And by being here at Dreamforce, you have already done that, so congratulations. You're in the much bigger, like, weird Dreamforce bubble, which is its own thing. But what happens, particularly if you're a solo administrator, is you sort of tend to get really heads down and focused in your company and in your use cases. One of the best things about connecting with folks, and again, by being here, you're already doing it, is getting out of your bubble and seeing how other people solve maybe the same problems that you're having or other things that you haven't even thought about. And you want to see how your users work. You want to meet the wider community. Again, hopefully you're here. Take a chance, meet your neighbor at some point at one of these conferences. Don't spend all the time on your phone and or laptop. And one other thing that I highly recommend is finding a Salesforce mentor. And I'm going to talk about the Trailblazer community in a little bit, but places where you can go to do that. So one of the first things you can do to connect with your users, and he was here, I think he might have left, but does anybody know Mike Gerholt, have seen his face around? So Mike is the director of admin evangelism. He is my boss, and he is the original button-click admin. So he had a podcast, he had a blog, he had a website, and he now works for Salesforce, which is awesome. And any Salesforce admins podcast listeners out there? Okay, couple of hands. I'm wondering, could we just raise your hand back there. So Jillian Bruce, who is the host of the podcast, is here in the room right now at the back of the room. So big hand for Jillian for just being awesome. So for you as Salesforce admins, the Salesforce Admins podcast is a tremendous resource, and we'll have links to that later, but it's just at our website, admin.salesforce.com. Oh, and by the way, it's on the little postcard. So if you have your little postcard that's on your seat, you can get that. So connecting with your users, Salesforce administration by walking around. Savoir, as Mike says, this is one of the best ways that you can connect with your users. Just talk to humans. It sounds really basic, and sometimes it can be intimidating, but really, you will never get a better idea of what people are doing in the system than when you are sitting next to them. So I can't encourage this enough, and especially as someone who was an admin, and I was an admin at a nonprofit, seeing what people did and how people used the system was tremendously revealing. In some ways, shocking in a good way, in some ways, not. Chatter is a great way for you to connect with your users. So think of this as your internal message board, right? And people don't have to leave Salesforce to use Chatter. They can use Chatter within the interface. What's great is you can create a group that's a Salesforce support group so that when folks have questions and post to that Chatter group, it's not buried in your email. It's not a one-on-one conversation. It now becomes a one-to-many conversation. Now, some folks will be intimidated to post to Chatter. That's okay. You'll be doing Savoir, so you'll be able to sit with them one-on-one for the folks that don't want to post to this. And then what you can do after the fact is say, I'll help you only if, and you'll help them post and craft the Chatter post, so that way everybody gets to see their question, because if they have that question, guaranteed other folks in your organization have the question. So connecting also means connecting with your leadership across the organization. So one thing that tends to happen is as Salesforce administrators, we tend to sort of get siloed and focused on our stuff. It's really important for you as an administrator to kind of know the business as a whole. And whether you work at a nonprofit organization, a for-profit company, you need to be aligned with leadership. You need to know what's the goals and the vision of the organization so that you can then align Salesforce with those different business units and go so on. You also want to understand stakeholders. So these might be folks who are, department heads who are using Salesforce. And of course, ultimately, it all comes down to your users. Who are the folks at your company that are using Salesforce that you're supporting? Who's in the the Trailblazer community? Whoops, Freudian slip there. Okay. So awesome, thank you for all of you that are there. For those of you that are not yet in the Trailblazer community, this is your opportunity to go there. This community is a community of incredible people. It's essentially a virtual version of Dreamforce, right? With folks all around the world, all time zones, all different use cases, all different types of organizations. The Trailblazer community is your place to go to connect with other folks just like you. I guarantee you, if you have a question or problem, there is someone in the Trailblazer community that's going to help you. And that person is probably Steve Molas. So for those of you that have been in the community, Steve is a very common responder to questions about reports and dashboards. So if you see him walking around, you'll see him probably with a beer in hand. So anyway, the Trailblazer community is absolutely the place to go. Now, also part of the Trailblazer community are, there are also, so this is online, but if you want to connect with folks offline in real life human form, the Trailblazer community has community groups. And these are groups for folks you can connect with right away. So whatever they're broken out by different roles, they're broken out by different industries. So absolutely, I can't say enough good things about the community. So these are the steps to get you connecting. And I am actually going to skip the demo. Let's see. Let me see if I can. All right, I'm going to take a chance here. Let's see if I can just show you a web page. That's as much as I'm willing to risk. Let's see. Oh, it's working again randomly. Well, how about that? All right. Meeting. Great. And here is the Trailblazer community. Isn't that amazing? Okay, back to slides. I'm hedging my bets, and I want to make sure that we get you all the good content. All right.
Great.
Yep, you bet.
It worked, yay. Okay, next chapter. So let's talk about how to develop leadership habits. Before we talk about the how, of course, why is it so important? So admins really lead their company to the future. You're the ones that have the technology that can deliver innovation to your users and departments and leaders. And that really means that you can influence change. You can make your company work smarter and faster. You can make your users happy. And once you start doing that and really taking a lead at helping your users, you'll get enhanced visibility. People will start to notice. And people will come to you with more ideas and projects that they want to build in Salesforce because they see what you can do. And that will hopefully lead to growth in your profession and for your company. And ultimately, as a leader, you will be a role model, right? Not only within your company, but within the community. We just talked about the Trailblazer community, the Ohana, if you haven't heard that. You are a big part of that. And ultimately, you're inspiring the next generation of awesome admins to be leaders as well. So it's really important that we develop these leadership habits. So first, let's talk about leading with knowledge. So I know we talked about learning habits and making sure you're continuously learning. But here we're talking about knowing your org. Knowing your org inside and out, so you are armed with knowledge and expertise to talk to different people in your company. And thankfully, you can leverage some really great Salesforce tools to be able to know your org inside and out. So one of them is the Salesforce Optimizer. It's very easy to find this. Just go into Setup, search Salesforce Optimizer, hit the Run button, and you'll get this amazing report emailed to you in a PDF form that really gives you a prioritized set of insights in your org. It looks at all your customizations and your usage and kind of looks at ways that you can optimize it. It gives you actionable recommendations. So it's a really great place to start, especially if you're maybe a new admin coming into an old org or legacy system and you just want to understand what's going on with your org. Run this report. Another great tool to use is the security health check. So this will make you a security expert like that. Again, it's in Setup. You just search the health check, and it actually compares all of your security settings with industry standards and Salesforce best practices. So you can see immediately where you stand. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Oops, back. No, forward. Okay, yes. Next, I want to talk about the importance of maintaining a really clean org. And this is a leadership habit because it's not only up to the admin to keep an org clean, it's also up to the users, right? Dirty data in, dirty data out. So you can lead by example. And it can actually be really fun. We talk about how we can host a eat and delete luncheon. And this is something you can do monthly with different departments or teams where you meet with them and you lure them in with food over lunch and you talk to them about, you kind of start reviewing all the different reports they've built, dashboards, list views, different fields, and are they still using them? Do we need to clear them out? Do we need to organize them? The worst thing is when a user can't find the report they built a week ago, right? So the cleaner your org is, the more useful it is. So you can lead by example with a clean org. And we have Nana right here kind of emphasizing that point. Because with a clean org, you are much more able to kind of leverage the new innovations that are coming out and not have to deal with the regular maintenance as much. Okay, so next we want to lead with trust. So as you may know, at Salesforce, trust is our #1 value. So it's really important that we lead with trust. And we can do that by building a really strong relationship with our IT department. As admins, you are owning this huge amount of customer data, and you want to make sure that the company trusts you with that, and they trust Salesforce with that data. So a great way to start that conversation with your IT department is to share the health check. Have a meeting with them, and show them how our security settings in our org are matching Salesforce best practices and industry standards. And then continue to have that conversation once a month or once a quarter to make sure that you're aligned with your company's security best practices and also their policy. And that way, if things change, you're always kind of in sync with them. And another great thing you can do is share trust.salesforce.com with your IT department so they can see how Salesforce is managing. All right, lastly, we want to talk about the Salesforce governance process. And as an admin, it's really important that you make this kind of a best practice. Not only is it a great way for you to connect with different departments, but it also means you can understand exactly what the needs of the business are and then align that with all the different Salesforce requests and initiatives that are coming in. You'll have improved processes and efficiency, and you'll also kind of increase the value of Salesforce because you'll understand how Salesforce and the customer data kind of integrates with the rest of the systems in place at your company and how you can make that more seamless and efficient. Here we have a great quote from Jody Wagner. I love that she says governance is a recipe for long-term Salesforce success, and I definitely agree. Okay, so I know that was a lot of habits to develop to become a leader and an awesome admin. So we have the checklist right here. First thing you can do right away is go run the different reports and take a look at them. They're super easy and quick to do. So there's Optimizer and Health Check. And next, identify some key stakeholders that you can meet with maybe next week. Get a meeting on their calendar, see what their availability is so that you can start to understand what their business needs are. And lastly, this should be a fun one, start scheduling some eat and delete luncheons with your users so you can start maintaining a clean org.
All right, we're going to try the live demo again. Fingers crossed. Okay, so let's take a look at the Salesforce Optimizer. Yeah, that's fun. Great. So this is what it looks like. Basically, there's not a lot you can do. It's just pretty much you click Run on the Optimizer, and then it generates a report that looks a little something like this. So just take a look at this for a second. So you can see I ran this report this morning just to kind of get an idea of what's in here. So it's giving you, the admin, kind of specific areas that you can investigate and improve in your org. Think about this as like a, like a checkup or a dashboard light in your car. It's the same kind of thing as that. And you can see there's all sorts of stuff on here. It's super, super useful. So I highly recommend this. It's literally one click and then it emails you this file. So I think that's all I'm going to show demo-wise because I want to make sure that we get time for questions as well. But that is the Optimizer. So super, super useful.
A great thing to kind of also just schedule in your calendar to run quarterly so you don't forget and see any updates and changes that may happen.
Cool. All right, let me bring it on home and then we'll have a little bit of time for questions. So your next steps, here's kind of your checklist. Again, we're trying to keep it simple. We're not trying to overwhelm you. We want to give you these specific, actionable things that you can take back to your org and your office tomorrow, next week, after you've recovered from the dream flu and you're ready to back at work. So you want the presentation. Awesome. It's right here. Go download it. We can also put it on the session record, but honestly, it's right here. So just grab a picture of the slide. You can download the presentation. Also, we have a trail mix, of course, which has links to the Trailhead stuff, the Trailhead modules that you can earn. So first, thank you all for coming, especially to an early session after the Dreamfest. We really hope that you found this useful and valuable and practical. In your app, it's going to give you a little survey that pops up and asks you how it was. Maybe we'll give you cupcakes if you press 5. Just come see us after. And for those who do have questions, I would ask that you go to, there's a mic set up right here in the center of the room, so just go ahead and line up at the mic if you have questions, and we will do our best. But for those of you who don't have questions, have a great rest of your Dreamforce. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Yay.
Yay.
I think we need another picture.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. Oh, and there's a question.
Yes.
Please, sir, go ahead.
Can you run the optimizer on your sandbox?
Yes? Yep. Hi.
Somebody mentioned needing my domain if you get apps in Lightning. Is that true? Like needing to set that up?
I think it depends on the app. I don't think it's
Okay.
required for all apps. I think some apps require it, but not all of them.
So it just like wouldn't work if, like, I'm just trying to think how I would know.
It will give you some sort of install error.
Okay.
Yeah. So and you can always turn on my domain. It doesn't hurt anything.
Okay.
So yeah, you bet.
I'm wondering if Salesforce Saturdays was omitted for a reason.
No, it wasn't. It's because
organic.
we're sleepy.
Okay.
That's why. Thank you for mentioning it. Would you like to share about Salesforce Saturdays?
And I'm from Dallas, and we
Sorry about that.
we get together every Saturday, and there's like MVPs from Salesforce. They get together and they help you out with your organizational questions, any issues that you guys are having with Salesforce, workflows and triggers and whatnot, and they help you out. So it's a community. I just started maybe like 3 months ago, and I had a big
Great.
issue that I couldn't figure out. I went there, and they helped me out. So it's free, and they give mimosas as well. So.
That's true. Yes, so look for Salesforce Saturdays in the Trailblazer community. Thank you so much for bringing that up. I will make sure to get that added, and we'll update the slides. A little closer to the mic.
Are there any performance implications to when you run the optimizer?
No, doesn't matter. It's an asynchronous run. Yep.
Good morning, thank you. Can you go back a slide for those links, please? Thank you.
You bet.
So regarding learning about the new features 3 times a year, you said refresh your sandboxes. What happens if you don't?
Your sandboxes will eventually be upgraded, but by refreshing your sandboxes early, what happens is it gives you the opportunity to test the new features before it hits your live org.
Okay, and so I think you guys notify us that we can go ahead and do that.
Repeatedly.
Yeah, okay, because I've
Yeah.
seen that. Thank you.
You bet.
Hi, I might have missed this, but you said find a mentor, and I've been kind of like Googling it, but I'm wondering if the Salesforce Saturdays is one resource and
Yep.
any other resources that you can offer.
In the Trailblazer community, there's actually a mentor-mentee group in there, so that's where I would go.
Awesome, thank you.
Cool, you bet. We have time for one more question, and then we're done.
What's the name of the podcast?
Salesforce
Admins
Admins.
Podcast.
Salesforce Admins podcast. Thank you.
That's it. All right, we're gonna wrap so we can get the room turned around. But thank you all so much for staying.
Thank you.
And thank you to our ASL interpreters. Really appreciate it. Thank you.